Okay, I don't see anyone responding. All good, guys? So let me just share my screen. Okay. Yeah, good afternoon. Okay, just give me a sec, yeah? All right. Okay. So welcome back, guys. So today is the third day, the final day of our session. Let me take a look at this. All right. So today is our final day. Yesterday we were talking about how to steal credentials from our victim machine. So today what we're going to do is we are going to create our own command and control server to handle all our web requests, which is sending out emails and grabbing the credentials and etc. Okay, so we won't be exposing our credentials in the victim's machine. Okay, let me just open up my PowerPoint slide. Okay. So give it a sec. All right, internet's kind of slow today, so let me just open up my Windows machine, so then we can start off with our session for today. Okay. All right, we have it here. Okay, so for today's session, we're going to build our command and control infrastructure. So anyone knows from where I got this image over to the right? If you guys are familiar with any of the infrastructure that uses this. Good afternoon, guys. Okay, anyone? Pentester Lab. Okay, maybe I'm not really sure. Breaking firewall. Okay, so basically this image is taken from Cobalt Strike. So Cobalt Strike is a framework for command and control, which is used in red teaming engagements. Okay, but today we will be building our own command and control infrastructure, but not to handle shells and everything, but to send out our emails and to take care of any transmission between the victim machine and our attacker machine. So why are we learning this objective for today? So whenever we are using SMTP in a victim's machine, sometimes it can get blocked by firewall and any firewall rules that is present in a victim's machine. But if we are going to use an HTTP protocol, we can bypass the firewall in order to send our request to a web server. Okay, because no one can actually block port 80 and port 8080 or port 443 from going out and receiving the traffic. If they are blocking that port, then the users will not be able to access the internet. Okay, so the next objective is building out our C2 infrastructure. Okay, so today I'll be showing the same thing, which is a PowerShell script, but we'll be performing a bit of modifications from yesterday's script to build our infrastructure. And finally, I'm going to cover privilege escalation and post-exploitation. Okay, so yesterday we saw that we were able to steal the user's credential. So what we can do after stealing the user's credential? So we are going to take a look at what we can do after gaining a shell into the victim's machine. So for today's tools, I'll be using this tool called Credentials Recovery, Lasagne. Okay, it's good for post-exploitation activities. And next, we can use a command and control client script, which I developed earlier. And we are going to utilize Metasploit framework for our post-exploitation activity. Okay. So these are our basic mission overview. First is we're going to bypass firewall, outgoing traffic restriction. Okay. And second, we are going to build our command and control. Third, we are going to set up our credential stealer malware, which we built yesterday, to call back to our C2 framework instead of sending out emails straightly to our inbox. And finally, we are going to perform privilege escalation and post-exploitation activity. Okay. So yeah, that's the brief of today's activity. So let's get into our mission, our Windows machine. So let me just log out, go to the test machine. Oh idea, okay. So we have our test machine here. So I would like you guys to go to this GitHub link. So let me just browse to this GitHub link really quick. Okay. So you can browse to my GitHub page that I shared yesterday, and you'll be able to look at this repository. Okay. You will be able to look at this repository called malicious USB drop test. Okay. So initially, both of these scripts are developed for a USB drop test. Okay. During an engagement. So we'll be using this together with our credential stealing malware that we built yesterday. Okay, so let's git clone this. Open up a CMD page. Here we go into our workshop. Okay, git clone here. All right, let it clone. So it's taking some time. Let it run, and we are done. Okay, so we can close that. And let's take a look at the script. So we can close our Chrome for a while and take a look at this PowerShell script. All right. Okay. So we have our PowerShell script open here. Okay, I'm not sure why is it running. Okay. Can you show me how to clone in CMD again? Yeah, sure. All right. So if you go to CMD, okay, it was Rakesh, right? Yeah, Rakesh. I'm not sure whether you have installed GIT or not. So you can go to, okay, wait. Okay. So you can go to GIT bash website. Okay, you go to GIT bash website, download it and install for Windows. And once you have installed, you will be able to access GIT application. So if you want to clone it, you just run git clone. And yes, correct. Thank you, Arsalan. And your repository, which is this. Okay. So meanwhile, let's take a look at this PowerShell script. Okay. So yesterday we were actually running the application straight whenever the user just double click the application. But today what we are going to do is we are going to perform all our sending email operations from our C2 framework instead of putting all the operation into a PowerShell script. Okay. So as you can see here, the first thing what happens here when the user clicks is it checks whether the script is able to access the internet or not. Okay, so it's going to do invoke web request. Okay, and previously I used the Google Cloud, so I can enter my machine where we'll be hosting our PHP script later. Okay, so in this case, as I mentioned yesterday, we are going to use our Kali machine. We are going to use our Kali machine for this operation. And let me just open this up. Right, all good so far? All right, cool guys, great. All right, we have a workshop folder. I'm going to open up a Tmax. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to host our C2 framework here. So this is our C2 framework. We can use any machine we want, but the problem is, okay, later I'll come back to the problem, because whenever we are doing any development, I personally recommend you guys to use an Ubuntu distro, because Kali Linux sucks at development. It is good for tools and running applications and stuff. But when building application from scratch, sometimes it fails because of dependencies and stuff. So it's always to have an Ubuntu machine right by your side. But today what I'm going to do is, I'm going to teach you guys how to spawn a Ubuntu distro in a Docker environment instead of having a virtual machine. So it saves some RAM, okay? It saves some memory for you. So what we're going to do, we're going to edit the script. Yes, it's experienced. Okay, cool. So let's copy the IP address of your Kali machine. Let's put this here. Okay, so since I can't copy from my Kali machine, I'm going to type this out. 160. All right. And okay, cool. So let's just keep this here for a while. And next, let's take a look here. So if the web request is successful, what it's going to do is it's going to reach to our C2 framework and check whether it is getting a 200 response code or not. If there's a status code, it's going to check. Okay, it's going to check whether the status code is 200. So if you guys check HTTP status code, 200 is 200 OK. So whenever you get 200 OK, it means that the script is able to reach the website, and the web page is existing on the C2 framework. Okay, if you get a 404 not found, then that page is not available in the C2 framework, and etc. So what we're going to do here, why are we doing this logic here? Because sometimes, guys, even myself, I used to do this. So what we do is, whenever we have a suspicious binary or exe file in our disposal, I usually just turn off my internet and click run for the malware to run. Why do I do that? Because I think that whenever you're running the malware, while you're turning off your Wi-Fi, it's not going to connect and download any malicious stager or something. But it is not true, because we are adding this logic where it's going to check whether it is able to reach the internet or not. If it's not able to reach the internet, what it's going to do is it's going to sleep in the background. It's going to sleep in the background, and it's not going to exit until it is able to connect to our C2 framework. So let's say the user thinks that, oh, I'm going to turn off my machine, my internet. I'm going to run the script. Okay, done. Nothing happened. Okay, let's turn on our Wi-Fi, and boom, we are able to connect back to our C2 framework, even though the user has turned off their Wi-Fi, and after turning on, straight away we get a call back to our server. So that is our logic here. So it is best not to run any malicious or any suspicious exe files on your machine. So yeah, even though if you turn off your Wi-Fi, it's going to work. It depends on the logic implemented. So I'm going to convert this to my IP address, and done. So that's the basic logic here. So these are all one package. So this is all one package here. And next, same thing. What it's going to do is going to send a first email address sending our system information. So our system information, which includes yesterday, we sent who am I command, host name, and IP address, correct? So it's going to still send the same thing, okay? So for today, we are going to send this as well. So this one, I'm going to remove all this, which is location and location output, because it's for malicious USB drop test. So it's not really useful for us in this situation. And edit this part. Under this variable, just remove the location output. So we have a new line here. Remove the location output and remove the location thing. You're not going to have this two here. Right? All good so far, guys? Okay, yes. Okay, great. Thanks, guys, for your response. Okay, next, we are going to send all of this information to our C2 framework through a post request. Okay, so as you can see here, send post request to attacker server. All right. And here we are going to specify our variable, which is sysinfo. And sysinfo post is going to be our post request placeholder. Remember, when we are doing PHP development, we have to specify a variable for every single post request. So this will be our post request variable, which is sysinfo post. And finally, it's going to send all of this information to our web server, okay, which is our C2 server. We are going to set up in a while with our information that we collected, okay, and it's going to break the loop. So let's include our C2 server's IP here and fish response.php. Okay, guys, so one thing to note here is if we are going to be stealthy, we are not going to include this URL to be fish underscore response.php, because if a person who is monitoring traffic, if they notice that there's a word fish, it's going to be suspicious. Okay, so it's a very high risk for us to include this URL link. So what we're going to do, we just include it as index.php. All right, let's just do it as index.php. Remember yesterday we hosted our malicious GoFish server. So later I'll show you guys how to set up multiple HTTP servers in our Kali machine. So let's just demonstrate this first. Okay, all good here. So before running this, we have to set up our C2 server. So let's go to our Kali machine. Okay, I'm going to set up this as C2. Okay, C2. And I'm going to create a directory called C2 here and C2. Okay, C2. All right, got it. So now what we're going to do, we are going to do a git clone on the web page again. So it was okay. Let me just copy this from here. Up slash Mohin Paramasivam. Okay, guys, if I'm going too fast, slow me down. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this and let's go. All right. And as you can see here, we have a PHP script here, which corresponds with what we changed before. So let's just change this to index.php. So we just change this to index.php. And now let's edit this file. Okay, I've opened up my Sublime text. Okay. And as you can see here, we have a variable that receives the post request, which we sent earlier, which is here. Let's take a look. Where is it? Okay, as you can see here, sysinfo post. And this is the post parameter we have specified. Okay, location post, since we don't have any location, we can just remove this. Okay, we are going to remove this. Okay, next, we are going to take a look at this part. So this is the part where we are going to configure our email address, password, and username and stuff. So in this case, the victim will not be able to read our password. So we will be stealthy. So yesterday someone asked that forensics can be performed on the script and retrieve the password and everything. But today we are going to conceal our identity through our C2 framework. So no one will be able to read our email address password. So I'm going to change this. Okay. So same as yesterday's password. Okay. So email. Feel free to enter your email address. So don't follow mine. If not, I'll be able to look at your password and stuff. So you wouldn't want me showing off your passwords and stuff, right? So famous phishing and okay, yada yada yada. Okay, copy this, and attacker name. I'm going to put my same name. Okay, famous phishing. So this one we are going to send to our email address. Same thing what we performed that day, but the only difference is we are configuring our C2 server to send the email address instead of the victim sending the email. Okay, because forensics can be done, and also people who are monitoring SMTP traffic will be able to take a look at what's happening, because Windows threat protection and stuff, it will scan email address, email content when it is going out of an organization. So let's say if a password is being exfiltrated, it will create a threat intelligence report and our cover will be blown. Okay, so we don't want that happening. So let's do here, we're going to put it payload executed. Same thing as yesterday, we can enter anything we want. So I'm going to use payload executed, yada, yada, yada. Everything is good here. Okay, all good. And if you notice here, it's going to save every response into a file. So let's say in case it couldn't send an email to our Gmail, let's say Gmail blocked our request because of suspicious activity and stuff. Sometimes it happens. So we have a backup plan where it saves all of the response into a response.txt file. So we will be able to get all of the information that is transmitted into our C2 server. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to set up our C2 server here. So PHP server and our IP address and port 80. And now we have our C2 server running at index.php. Okay. So let's open up our Gmail address, our famousphishing.gmail.com. Okay, give it some time. Yes, I'll be covering how to prepare for OSCP and stuff in the end of this session today. So just be right there, okay? Do not leave the session. I'll be talking about it later in a while. So any questions so far, guys? Okay, the thing is, yesterday's scenario includes all of this. We have to create an inbound rule, exception, because sometimes we have firewall blocking outgoing traffic, incoming traffic and stuff. But in today's scenario, we do not need to configure any of that because it's going to use the HTTP protocol to send all of our requests. So we do not need to worry about firewall blocking all of our requests. So that's the benefit of today's session. We are going to migrate all of our operation into a C2 server. Okay. So okay, any other question? Because okay, a simple scenario is when I developed the first script which I used yesterday, when we developed it and sent it to the client's infrastructure, we didn't receive any connection to our Gmail address because we assumed that there might be a outgoing traffic firewall blocking and stuff. Okay, so what we did is we developed a new strategy which is sending to our C2 framework, which is on HTTP server. So in that way, we were able to receive all of our details by bypassing all the traffic filtering. Okay, so give it some time. Daily joining. What's that? What join link is it? So I'm going to delete all of this. Let's just delete this. Oh, okay. So today is the third day, the final day of the session. So previously, Hackers for You organized this session. So yeah, you can just join this link in a while because in 45 minutes, WebEx will terminate the session. So just click the same link and enter the session. So give it some time. Okay, give it some time. I think something's wrong with the internet. Okay, meanwhile, all right, let it remove that. Let me just open up the C2 framework. Let's continue from here. So as you can see here, we have our C2 framework here. So if I open up my IP, it's 192.168.186.160 and let's execute the script. Okay, so it's running. As you can see here, okay, as you can see here, we are having a problem. What problem? We don't have PHP mailer. Okay, so the request is coming in, but the problem is we don't have PHP mailer that is required for our C2 framework to send our emails. Okay, but the problem is if you want to install the PHP mailer thing on your Kali, it's not going to work because as I mentioned earlier, Kali is not created for development purposes. So what we're going to do, we are going to install a Docker container. So let's remove this directory. Okay, just do a Docker. Okay, apt install Docker. Okay, all good. So Docker pull Ubuntu. Okay, just put this page, let it work here. So sometimes when we are developing any infrastructure, anything, Docker really helps because we can have multiple instances and stuff in just a single computer or a server. So we do not need multiple instances running, okay? So we need docker.io as well. So install that as well. Okay. So let that run. So install Ubuntu Docker. Okay. So let's Google that. Okay, it's taking some time to install. Yes, Docker pull Ubuntu. Okay. So give it some time to download. It's taking some time here. Okay, so looks like it's gonna take quite some time to do this. Okay, I'm not sure about that, but I'm not really good in Docker as well. So Docker Windows maybe? Yeah, exactly. So what I'm gonna do, maybe I'm going to spawn my Ubuntu machine. I'm going to spawn my Ubuntu machine. So it says here 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So let's just run it there. Let's just keep it running. Meanwhile, let's just turn on my Ubuntu machine. I have an Ubuntu machine. So if you guys don't have, just run Docker container. So I'm going to run my Ubuntu machine here. So yeah, sometimes installing is really annoying because it takes some time to install and everything. So let it boot. Yep, exactly. So it's really better to work on EC2 instances, cloud instances like Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, anything will do. Okay. So let it just run. Okay, all good, guys. Have you guys installed Ubuntu on your Docker? Okay, I think we might be able to get this, but it's okay. I think it's going to take quite some time. So let me just pull up my Ubuntu VM. Let's just run it here. Right. So okay. Sometime. All good, guys? Okay, so I have my Ubuntu. Let's open up a terminal. If you guys don't have Ubuntu, then try Docker. So in my case, I have some issues with my internet, so it might take some time to install. So let's just continue with this. So sudo dash right. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to do a git clone on this. So paste this here. Okay, as you can see here, we have our PHP file. Okay, so I'm not sure if I have sublime text here. Okay, we don't have sublime tabs, so it's fine, no problem. What we can do, we just remove this. We can remove this, and I'm going to copy the one from my VM. Okay, so let's okay, let's git clone in here, and we edit it here, and then we move it to our Ubuntu machine. So initially I thought we can use Docker, but it's taking some time. Let's see if it works. If Docker works, then we can move on with Docker. Okay, so let's just build this first. Let's build our PHP script. Workshop. So the good thing about Tmux is if you accidentally close your terminal, you can still recover. So that's why I'm using Tmux here. All right. So you can just go here, and looks like our Docker has successfully installed. So let's try Docker pull Ubuntu. Let's see how long it's taking. So meanwhile, let's edit back our file. Okay. So I'm gonna change this, which is permasfishing@gmail.com. All right. And next, the password. Copy this, this, okay, and permas fishing. Okay, permas fishing, and payload executed 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all good here. So now we have this, and looks like our Docker image is here. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm not really good in Docker. So what I'm going to do is Docker search. Okay, so Docker dash into container. So I think it's Docker exec. Okay, let's see. Ubuntu. And oh, okay, wrong place. Docker exec. Okay, Ubuntu bash, right? And I think this is it. Yep. Okay, we are in our Docker container. So what we can do, okay, instead of using our Ubuntu, because I'm really worried about the RAM usage here. So if your computer can't support it, then it's gonna lag. So that's why I'm going to use Docker. So what we're gonna do here, since now we are not able to do a Google search because we don't have any internet connection here. Okay, we don't have any internet connection. So how do we give internet connection to our Docker container? So Docker, okay, internet access. Okay, so you just copy this. Let's take a look how to give internet access. Okay, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. And this one, okay, this works. So what we can do here, copy this. Okay, I'm going to minimize this for now. I'm going to use this page. So copy this. So I'm going to copy this link and paste it in your chat box. So you guys can go here. I'm going to post this as well. All right. Okay, copy this. Okay, paste this here. Okay, pkill docker. Then same thing, IP tables. Copy the whole thing. Okay, copy this. And the final command doesn't work. So next, what you can do, just do a docker. Same thing, run Ubuntu bash. And now we should be able to have an internet connection. So apt install. Let's say I'm gonna ping google.com. Okay, I don't have ping. So apt install ping. Okay, apt install netcat, maybe netcat. Right. Interesting. Oh, okay. I forgot to do something. You need to restart your Docker instance. So copy this, restart your Docker instance. After restarting, you'll be able to access the internet. So apt install ping. Okay, I'm not sure why it's happening here. Apt install NC. Okay, you know what? It's okay, fine. Snap install PHP. Okay, I know what's the problem. apt update, important command to run. Yeah, this is the problem. We have to do an apt update. All right, let's run this first. So yeah, when we are developing our own infrastructure and building from scratch, we have to make sure that we have all the packages, we have all the required tools so that we can perform our assessment. All right. So now we have our fish response.php. Okay, so we are going to rename this to index.php. Okay, so cancel this. Let's close this. Let's close this as well. And let's see, I'm not going to do that mistake again. Close this and give it some time. It's going to do an apt update. Okay. Okay, I could have installed all of this from scratch, but I want to show you guys what are the tools and how to install these packages from scratch. Okay, so yeah, let's just give it some time lah, for 2 minutes. So we have 2 minutes here. Maybe you can grab a coffee or something. Or any questions so far, guys? How to run a Docker, why Docker is important,